Can talk more about the EB-1A criteria.
Yeah, so we talked about media. I did also want to cover judge role for a little bit because I mentioned earlier, I recommend that almost anyone who's building their profile try to capture judge role as one of the criteria they're working towards. And that's just because there's really favorable federal court litigation on this one, where USCIS has to treat it like a plain language criterion, and they can't really consider final merits when they're analyzing the criterion. So it's very easy to at least get this one checked off the list, which is a step closer to approval. It's not everything, but it will at least be checked off the list as one of your 3 criteria, so that then USCIS can go on and look at final merits and say, okay, has this person really risen to the top of their field? So with that in mind, even though it's easy to get this criteria granted, USCIS does have angles to question whether or not you're really judging the work of people in the same or an allied field. I think allied field means this is pretty broad, and so I think sometimes these questions are unfair. I even got an RFE on an EB-1A for someone in AI where they were judging a competition with AI in the name, and USCIS says, well, how is this related to AI? So the questions can be dumb sometimes and not made in good faith, but sometimes they are made in good faith. I do see a lot of people relying on judging awards like the Globies or the Stevies or the Codys. There's a couple more that I see a lot. And sometimes this kind of judge work makes sense in context of the person's profile, but sometimes it does seem a little far removed from the field of expertise. If you can't show that your work in judging the Globies or Stevies was really judging people in a closely allied field to yours, it's a weakness. It could be questioned. Also, a lot of people are going for the Globies and Stevies. I would really recommend that if you are engaged in other judging activities that USCIS would automatically think are higher quality anyways, that you don't do the Globies or Stevies. I mean, doing them can't really hurt. So if you have the chance, go for it. But don't make that an active part of your profile building unless you need to. If you don't have a lot of opportunities for, say, peer review or paper review at conferences or these kinds of traditional activities that qualify for judge, then yeah, look at the Globies and Stevies. See if you can judge a particular award that's really closely related to your field of expertise. It can be a really good stepping stone. And I filed cases where the only thing we claimed was the Globies and Stevies, and they did get approved. And I think they got approved on judge roll because of the way the other criteria shaped out. So it can work, but tread carefully. It's not everything. And I will say there are higher value activities. Anything you can do that's really niche in your field, even if it's a one-off, really helps the case, especially if you can emphasize any kind of prestige factors that went along with your selection for that role.